What's up, everyone? This is Sansworld, and today we are going to be creating a percussion lead. We're going to be creating the one from Martin Garrix Wizard. This is going to be the best interpretation I can do on Massive. There's various ways you can mimic Martin Garrix's sound. One of them is going to be through synthesis using Massive, and the other one is going to be through sampling percussive sounds. So this is going to be the way of, using Massive. So this is going to be the outcome. So when you download this file from my Facebook, it will come with the MIDI and the preset file. Okay, so one last thing I forgot to mention before we get started in creating the sound is that we will be layering that sound in Massive. Now, once you guys hear the sound here, you're gonna be like, this is the lead, this is like the stamp, this is a lead for Martin Garrix, the drop. And I'm pretty sure this is a sample Martin Garrix used. I was talking to a few of my colleagues on some forums, and we are pretty certain this is a sample he used from a Vengeance pack that I will be supplying in the pack that you can download off my Facebook with the MIDI. So here it is. Okay, so we will have the Massive representation of that, and we will have the actual sample he used, and you can always layer them together to get the actual sound from the song. Okay, so let's get started. So pretty much mimicking Martin Garrix's sound. It's just going to be making a pluck, a really, really percussive pluck with not much of a release. And it's going to be really, really just bam, 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 right to the point. And the only thing you're going to hear is probably like a lot of reverb, which is going to be big in these type of sounds because we have that huge card style kick, and you have so much space that you can put as much reverb as you want to that top lead. And then the reason it's so popular is because when you play this stuff at festivals, it just sounds so huge, so open. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to oscillator 1, and we're going to be applying a square and saw 1 wave found from the basic section in Massive section, sorry. And pretty much the wavetail position is going to be put at 8 o'clock. So we're going to have more of a square wave with very, very little of a saw, which shouldn't really matter if you put it all the way down. But try and get it exact so we get the same results. Okay. Intensity up, amp up, and you leave the filter here. Now we're going to go into our noising section, and I forgot to apply a macro to that. Let me make it real fast. Noise. And pretty much we're going to be putting some white noise, color all the way up, amp all the way down, and you're going to leave it in the middle, okay? Don't worry about the macro. We'll do that later. Now we're going to go into filter 1 with a low pass 4. We're going to leave the cutoff all the way down. And we're going to be grabbing a macro from here, okay? So number 2, you're going to click this arrow here. And you're going to drag it here into this box here. It should look like this. You're going to click, pull up all the way. And then you want to move your macro here all the way up. Now, what macros are, it's pretty much just a way for you to easily control certain things. So what you can do is you can apply these macros to various things. Like you can apply the number 2 macro to the cutoff and the reverb. So when you apply this up, the reverb and the filter cutoff go up at the same time, or the opposite. You can make it whichever way you want. Now macros are big just because they tend to make life a lot easier when you're pretty much automating stuff in Massive. So that's pretty much what macros are. They're not really a big part. It's just makes it easier for you to start, manage all these knobs if you choose to automate some of them. Okay, so we're going to have the resonance pretty much all the way down, a little bit up, okay? And then we're going to put this filter all the way up. So pretty much this is just like the volume knob for that. Now we're going to get into the really important part of the sound, and this is where you need to get it exact. This is going to be envelope 4. Envelope 4 is always going to be routed to your amp. Amp is where the sound comes out of. Just imagine a guitar amp. You know how you connect a guitar to an amp and then you play and the sound comes out of the amp. Same thing here. We have an amp. But the difference here is that we can choose the characteristics of the sound. So all the characteristics are always, it always deals with attack, decay, release, and sometimes even sustain. And pretty much what all that means is the attack is going to decide how fast the sound comes out of the amp and reaches the max volume that it's going to reach. decay is going to decide how fast it goes down to the sustain level, and then the release is going to decide how fast the sound reaches back to 0. So pretty much just remember that. It's really not a big thing in Massive. I know Length 1 is big on that whole ADSR thing. Okay, so for envelope 4, our attack is going to be set around 8 o'clock, level all the way up, decay at 10 o'clock, and you want your level pretty much by 8 o'clock as well, pretty much a little bit before then, so you just move it a little bit up there. And then our release, there's not going to be much of it. You want it at 9 o'clock. Okay? Okay, so once we have that, let's make sure everything is fine. We're going to go into envelope 1 now. Now, this is going to be routed to your pitch. Now, when you route envelopes to your knobs, they use the same attack, decay, release method we used on the amp, but except it's going to be used in the perspective that of a knob being turned. So here we're going to be applying that to the pitch. So pretty much the good thing about Massive is that it gives you a visual representation of what's going to happen. So we're routing this envelope 1 here to the bottom box here. And pretty much it's going to be set at 0. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to click and you want to pretty much pull up all the way to 63. And you want 0.50 on your right one. Okay? So the way you're going to do that is just, scroll up, make sure it's 63.50. Now, explaining this method here is what's going to happen is that we're going to have the attack. So when you click the key, what's going to happen is this envelope is going to trigger, like not instantly, but it's going to gradually trigger. As you can see, it has a slope. It doesn't have pretty much a small slope. It has a long slope. And what that's going to say, it's like the pitch is going to increase to 63.50 this fast, and it's going to decay this fast. Okay? So pretty much what we're going to be doing is we're applying some attack at 8 o'clock, some decay at 8, level all the way down, for the attack levels all the way up. Release is going to be set at 9. Okay, and we're going to route that to pitch for oscillator 1, and we should be getting a sound. So make sure to start clicking your sounds. In voicing, we're really not going to do much. I'll just explain a few of the things I always explain on my videos. Voicing is where you decide how many voices are allowed to play, the max, whether it's polyphon, monophone. Polyphon means you can play more than one note at the time. Monophone means you can only play one single note at a time, which is generally used with leads that use a lot of legato or bass lines. Okay, we have Pam Position, which just decides what kind of position you want your sound to have. In mono, it's in the center, full stereo. Pretty simple stuff. Pitch cutoff, I see it as a detuning. And yeah, so it should be everything there. Okay, so glide is going to be set, I think, by default there, so don't worry about that. Okay, once we have everything, now we're going to go into our effects section. Effects 1, we're going to have a reverb, very small reverb. You're going to put the dry and wet at around 9 o'clock, size at 12, density at 12, color at 12. Okay? We're going to be applying some delay, and this is going to be macroed, so all you really have to do is put delay synced, which is a delay where you get to decide how it works to the exact value, and we're going to be putting it all the way down for the cutoff. Okay, and then we're going to leave the damp at 12, feedback at 1, and left and right, that means like how the delay is going to repeat on certain counts, 1/8, 1/8, so we're not going to have a ping pong kind of delay. It's going to be really like, okay, at the same time, you're going to hear it both ears. Once we have that, then pretty much we go into our EQing section, and we're going to be applying a low shelf. Visual representation of a low shelf is going to be probably here. We go into the EQ8 of Ableton. So a low shelf is going to be this, and a high shelf is going to be this. Sorry, over here. Whoops. You're going to switch it to the other side, and this is going to be a high shelf. So that's pretty much what that means in the EQ section of Massive. Okay, so let's delete that. So pretty much for low shelf, you want it at 1. You want to boost it by 1. The frequency is going to be set at 1, and the high shelf is going to be set at around 1 as well. Okay. Okay, so once we have all that, we should be getting the sound. Now let's apply some macros though, so we can just be able to control a few of the effects a little bit better. So for delay, the number 3, you want to drag. You want to click on your effects 2 here. You want to bring up your delay. and you want to bring this arrow here. You click this arrow and you're going to drag it here. It's going to look like this. You just click on it and pull it all the way up, and you're going to want your delay at 9 o'clock. If you choose to add more delay, you can always bring it up. Now we go into the 4. Just put it into noising. You don't want it all the way up, just like probably around 10 o'clock. So when you put it all the way up, okay, let's put it a little bit more up, and there we go. And the cutoff, you just drag this here too. It's gonna look like this. Just drag it all the way up. That's how you're gonna control everything. Add vibrato if you want. Not really gonna affect the sound. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned something. The way to creating these Martin Garrix type of leads is just really just fast envelopes, and just having a characteristic of a pluck. So, you know, the hardest thing about sound design is pretty much just experimenting and knowing how to achieve certain sound. A lot of the stuff I like to tell people is don't try to know what this does technically. Like, we know a cutoff is gonna cover the low frequencies with the low pass and so forth. Don't know what it's gonna do, just know how it's gonna affect your sound. I feel a lot of people try to learn sound design and they get stressed out because they're trying to learn what every little thing is gonna do technically. But it's better to experiment and see what every little thing's gonna do, because the wavetail position changes the wave's characteristics. So here, I mean, it's really simple to know that saw is going to turn into a square. You don't need to know that the saw is going to be modulated and then turn into a square. I mean, that's just technical stuff that you should leave to the engineers that create a massive. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, preset can be found on my on my Facebook page. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like my Facebook. And I'll see you guys next week.